Today, I finally made some money. Now I can have a meal later. I see you're having a tough time.
Studying feels useless. But if you don't study hard, you'll end up like me delivering food for more than 10 hours every day, earning only 100 or 200 yuan, so exhausted that your back and waist ache. Yet I never dare to rest. Because once I stop, life won't even let me afford a meal. And when that happens, you'll notice your friends drift away from you. Your relatives mock and sneer at you, and even opportunities won't wait for you. Why? Because you have no money, no education, and nothing to show for yourself. No one will take you seriously. You think studying is tiring, but if I had another chance, I would rather endure the hardship of studying than suffer delivering food for over 10 hours a day. So listen to me, my friend, study hard. I will study too. China, 2025. The tragedy of ordinary people in the vortex of poverty and despair. On government propaganda posters, China in 2025 still appears to be a superpower on the rise. GDP growth of 5.3% is repeated endlessly in nightly news broadcasts. Slogans proclaiming stable development and a bright future are plastered everywhere from subway stations to local government offices. But behind those numbers and slogans, another truth is quietly unfolding: exhaustion, poverty, and the cries for help from millions of ordinary citizens. Stories circulating on Chinese social media paint a heartbreaking picture. Workers laid off en masse, wages reduced to starvation levels, graduates forced to return home to sell street food, and elderly men walking dozens of miles because they cannot afford a bus ticket. It is a bleak portrait of a society where poverty and despair have become the shared experience of an entire generation. Tears by the roadside. A video circulating in Beijing shows a middle-aged man singing while crying. He says, "Today I finally earned some money. Today I finally have a meal." The person filming, moved by the sight, hands him another 100 yuan and asks for another song, a song about life. This was not a performance. It was the sobbing voice of a man struggling to survive. Scenes like this are not rare in China's big cities. In Shenzhen, a teenage girl delivers food orders after school to help her family. 1 yuan can buy 3 small buns, and that's enough for a whole day, she explains. But eating that every day means hunger never goes away. At a job fair in Guangzhou, hundreds of people crowd together for just a few dozen openings. Faces filled with anxiety, hands trembling as they hold their resumes, knowing their chance is close to zero. A laid-off factory worker sums it up. "Here, if you don't take the job, someone else will. We're just numbers easily replaced. A generation educated but unemployed." Perhaps the most painful reality is the fate of young people who studied hard but cannot find work. One young woman earned a master's degree in transportation at a prestigious 211 university. Her father sold food at a roadside stall to put her through graduate school, hoping she would have a bright future. But after graduation, she returned home to run a food stall with her boyfriend. She said bitterly, "If I hadn't studied 7 years of university and graduate school, I would have saved more than 200,000 yuan. If I had joined my father in selling food back then, maybe we'd already have a chain business." Her story is not unique. On Douyin and Weibo, countless videos show students, even masters and PhD graduates, working as delivery riders, taxi drivers, or temporary factory hands. One graduate in maritime studies, instead of joining a ship, opened a small street food stall with his girlfriend. He sighed. 7 years of study, and in the end, it all came down to a charcoal stove. Many online joke grimly about the phenomenon of graduate street vendors, a term that reflects widespread disappointment, years of tuition effort, and youth, all leading back to poverty. Living on starvation wages. Many workers openly share their pay slips to prove that life is impossible on their current income. One man displayed his monthly salary slip: base salary, 800 yuan, attendance bonus, 250 yuan, skills, stipend, 200 yuan, meal subsidy, 100 yuan, overtime, 160 yuan, night shift allowance, 300 yuan. Total 810 yuan month. He declared, "Now do you believe me? This is all I make." In major cities, that income cannot even cover rent, food, and transportation. Many workers survive on instant noodles for weeks or sleep in overcrowded dormitories to save money. One young woman in Guangdong complained, "I earned 500 yuan, but after social security deductions, I'm left with 700. Divided over 22 working days, that's just over 30 yuan a day. How can I live? Working like this feels like slavery. A hot meal becomes a luxury." Across many cities, a hot meal has become a luxury. A restaurant owner near an office district revealed his payment records. In 2021-2023, most customers paid through WeChat or Alipay. By 2024, over 80% were paying with credit cards, many essentially borrowing money to eat. He explained, "People no longer have cash to eat. They have to go into debt just to have a meal." A 70-year-old vendor in Guangxi still carries baskets of breakfast food, complaining, "Before there were always customers. This year, no one buys." People walk past, glance at his stall, and shake their heads, unable to afford even a cheap bun. Where once diners ordered 4 dishes and a soup, now they ask for nothing more than a single bowl of rice. Across Chinese social media, thousands of posts tell the same story: mass layoffs, hundreds of failed interviews, bank accounts emptied. A woman in Shenzhen confessed, "I submitted applications to more than 100 companies, interviewed at 90, and not one hired me. I've run out of money. I can't even afford rent. My daughter is only 9 months old. My husband lost his job after just 3 years of work. We still owe mortgage and car loans. I don't know how we can survive." A young man in Guangdong warned, "Don't come here looking for jobs. I can't even afford food. I sleep outside at night. I don't even have enough for a ticket back home." Such testimonies echo across the country, from Beijing and Shanghai to Chongqing and Chengdu. The media calls it the invisible wave, millions of people drifting without jobs, without stability, without belonging. As hunger and debt mount, more people are choosing desperate paths. Reports of suicides are skyrocketing. A man jumped from his apartment building when the bank seized his home. Another poisoned himself after failing to pay his child's tuition. One netizen wrote, "This year I've already seen 4 or 5 acquaintances take their own lives. I don't know who will be next. And it is not only the poor, even once powerful business tycoons are falling. With the collapse of real estate and manufacturing, many big bosses have been exposed as hollow empires built on debt. Some who once owned hundreds of apartments and dozens of luxury cars now have nothing, some even on the run." As one blogger observed, "When the economy crashes, the truth comes out. Those who once stood at the top of the pyramid are just like us, now empty-handed." The forgotten elderly and rural poor. The tragedy is perhaps worst for the elderly in rural areas. One viral video shows an old man walking for 26 hours through the mountains, trying to return to his hometown because he couldn't afford a bus ticket. Asked why he didn't ride, he said simply, "I have no money." He hadn't eaten in 2 days. The person filming bought him food and offered to drive him home. In many rural regions, elderly villagers still carry vegetables to market, selling small bundles for pennies. One woman in Henan explained, "We live on coins. If I sell today, I eat. If I don't sell, I go hungry." From luxury restaurants forced to set up food stalls on the sidewalk, to taxi drivers without passengers, to pharmacy owners who say they earn barely 300 yuan in daily profit everywhere. The same refrain echoes, "Business is impossible." A locksmith says he hasn't had work in weeks. A noodle shop owner stares at empty tables. A real estate agent admits this year has the most vacant apartments he's ever seen. One young man summarized, "You say this industry is hard. That industry is hard. The truth is, every industry is hard. There's nowhere left to turn." Another added, "Even if you make a little money, no one wants to spend it. Money isn't circulating, and the economy is suffocating. while citizens cry out in hunger state media still chants stability and growth. One ordinary man vented, "I'm not an economist, just a common person." But why are my feelings the exact opposite of the official numbers? They say incomes are rising, jobs are rising. But around me, everyone is jobless, in debt, suffering. Who are those numbers meant to fool? This contrast fuels growing resentment. People feel abandoned, silenced, and deceived, stripped not only of livelihood but also of hope. Together, these stories form the mosaic of modern China, a giant nation cracking at every seam. Workers are exhausted, graduates are unemployed, the elderly are starving, and entrepreneurs are bankrupt. Every layer of society is being dragged into the same downward spiral. Poverty is no longer confined to remote rural villages. It has spread everywhere from Beijing to Guangdong. Ordinary people lack not just money, but faith in the future. As one netizen wrote, "We are not afraid of hardship, not afraid of poverty. What we fear is that there is no light ahead. We live today, but have no idea what tomorrow will bring.